They say that opinions are like buttholes. Everyone has one, and most of the time it's not advisable to go parading it around on the internet. Well, we say phooey to this mysterious they, and in the spirit of rebelliousness, we're here to share our thoughts on the subject of the greatest games of the last decade. For today's list, we've taken a look back at every game released between 2010 and 2019, applied our very complex video game quality checking algorithm to each. Okay, fine, we've just asked around the office to find out which ones people like the best, and concluded which 10 titles are, in our super-duper humble opinion at least, the finest the decade had to offer. You might not agree with us, and that's fine. Just be cool about it, yeah? I'm Ashton from TripleJump, and here are the 10 best games of the 2010s. Number 10, The Last of Us, 2013. At the turn of the decade, zombies were bloomin' everywhere, and as such, if you were going to stick brain-chomping undead lads in your video game, you needed to do something pretty special to make it stand out. Clearly, Naughty Dog understood the assignment. The Last of Us takes place in the near future, the year 2033 to be exact, in a world ravaged by a fungus-induced zombie apocalypse, and follows smuggler Joel as he travels around the country with teenager Ellie, whose immunity to the cordyceps fungus may offer hope to what few survivors remain. Being truthful, the gameplay in The Last of Us really isn't all that much to write home about. Players can expect a lot of sneaking around to avoid enemies and the occasional firefight. However, the storytelling and characters are in a league of their own. Over the course of the game, The Last of Us weaves a very human, heartfelt and emotional tale set against an apocalyptic backdrop. Its characters brought to life by outstanding performances from the likes of Troy Baker, Ashley Johnson and Merle Dandridge. Heart-wrenching, harrowing and occasionally hilarious, The Last of Us is a masterclass in video game narrative excellence. Number 9, Mass Effect 2, 2010. Right, we've travelled a few years into the future, now let's go way into the future with our friends from BioWare. Mass Effect 2, as the name would imply, is the second of 3, and only 3, games in the Mass Effect series, which kicked off in 2007 with Mass Effect. It picks up where the first title left off. Players take control of Commander Shepard once again, and must gather allies to participate in a suicide mission which aims to put a stop to the Collectors. Whilst the first Mass Effect is very, very good, Mass Effect 2 is so much better, taking everything that made the first game great and improving upon it, with a greater focus on the third-person shooter gameplay, and by creating side missions that are just as engaging as the main story. Mass Effect 2 looks great, is fun to play, has player choices that truly matter, and is populated by characters with rich backstories and complex personalities. Furthermore, the soundtrack is delightful. The voice cast, which includes Jennifer Hale, Seth Green, and Martin Sheen, do a spectacular job, and the whole experience feels nothing short of cinematic. Obviously, we don't encourage you to skip the first one, but it's undeniable that Mass Effect 2 is the trilogy's golden child. Number 8, Dark Souls, 2011. Some might disagree with the inclusion of a title like Dark Souls on a list such as this. After all, it isn't exactly what you'd call a game for everyone. Just because something isn't your cup of tea, though, doesn't mean it's bad. And even if you haven't attained the requisite level of good to best Dark Souls, it's hard to deny it's an absolute banger of an RPG. Taking place in the kingdom of Lordran, Dark Souls has players assuming the role of a cursed undead character who sets out on a pilgrimage in order to find out what became of their kind. Exposition is not spoon-fed to players, so in order to wrap their head around the story, they'll need to look for clues in item descriptions, NPC dialogue, and other flavour text. Yes, the combat is hard as nails, but if you're up to the challenge, you'll find not only is Dark Souls an outstanding gameplay experience, but it's also lore-rich and impeccably designed too. Absolutely a game everyone should at least try once in their lives. Please note, TripleJump accepts no responsibility for any controllers or drywall damage as a result of this recommendation. Number 7, Spider-Man, 2018. Old Spidey's had his ups and downs over the years. not just due to his web-slinging antics, but perhaps one of his biggest ups came to us in 2018, courtesy of the good folks over at Insomniac Games. Spider-Man, or Marvel Spider-Man if you want to get serious about this, landed on the PlayStation 4 in September 2018, and immediately became probably the best reason to own the console. Went on to become the best-selling game for the PlayStation 4, and launched its very own franchise, with Spider-Man Miles Morales landing in 2020, followed by Spider-Man 2 in 2023. Starring the eponymous lycra-clad lad, Spider-Man chronicles Peter Parker's attempts to put a stop to Mr. Negative, a superhuman crime lord who not only wants to seize control of New York City's criminal underworld, but unleash a deadly virus whilst he's at it. Having an alter ego means twice the problems though, so not only does Spidey have that to contend with, but he's also got to deal with his civilian issues as well. With action-packed gameplay, fluid combat, a heartbreaking story, and web-slinging traversal mechanics that make getting about the place half of the fun, Spider-Man is an absolute treat from beginning to end. Number 6, Batman Arkham City, 2011. It might not have been the first Rocksteady Arkham game, but Batman Arkham City is, in our humble opinion anyway, certainly the best. In fact, it might just be the best superhero video game of all time, full stop. Ooh, sorry, Spider-Man. Set 18 months after the events of Asylum, Arkham City sees poor old Brucey Dubs incarcerated in the titular penitentiary, trapped in a prison where most of the inmates were put there by him. Definitely a situation that we in the industry would call not good. It gets worse for the Bat in Black though, because Joker's up to his old tricks, infecting Batman with the same Titan-induced disease he's now suffering from. Plus, Arkham City Warden, Hugo Strange, has big plans for the place, which may or may not contravene the Geneva Convention. Arkham City did what all good sequels should do. It preserved everything what was great about its predecessor. So in this case, the eccentric parade of comic book characters, fluid combat and top-notch cast, and then elevated it, giving players an entire city to swoop around, seemingly endless gangs of thugs to batarang into submission, and more side missions, collectibles and challenges than you could shake a moderately exasperated English butler at. Number 5, Red Dead Redemption 2, 2018. There was a bit of discourse here at TripleJump Towers over which of the Red Dead Redemption games we should include on this list. We could have gone with the first. After all, it did kick off the series as we know it. Yes, we know there was another before, but that, A, wasn't released in the 2010s, and 2, wouldn't be in the running even if it had been. Still, 2's just better in every way, so that's the one we've gone with. Despite being numbered like it's a sequel, Red Dead Redemption 2 is actually a prequel, charting the exploits of one Arthur Morgan, a gang member looking to retire from his criminal ways due to the decline of the Wild West. Set in a fictionalized version of the United States at the turn of the 20th century, players control Arthur and undertake a variety of missions, though outside of these they're able to freely roam the open world and accept additional quests. Everything in Red Dead Redemption 2, from its story and characters to its graphics, artwork and soundtrack, are remarkable. And from the moment players first hop on a horse to the moment the credits roll, they'll lose themselves in a glorious world of bandits, saloons and six-shooters. Number 4, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, 2017. There was some tough competition in the Legend of Zelda camp this decade, with Skyward Sword and A Link Between Worlds both proving to be strong contenders for inclusion on this list. In the end, though, we had to give it to Breath of the Wild. It's a masterpiece, and we worry that if we left it out in favour of something else, the angry mob would descend upon TripleJump Towers again. And they've only just left after the Baldur's Gate 3 companion ranking debacle. Yes, we know you like Astarion more than you like Shadowheart. Go home! Breath of the Wild takes place at the end of the Zelda timeline, or at least it did until Tears of the Kingdom came along, and sees Peter Pan enthusiast Link awakening from a 100-year snooze to find that Ganon, sealed in Hyrule Castle, has been gathering his strength, and if someone doesn't do something about it, he'll break free and nonsense will ensue. To call Breath of the Wild beautiful would be an understatement. It's an absolutely gorgeous game set in a stunning open world with so many mysteries to uncover and places to explore that it's very easy to get lost in for weeks on end. It's truly a breathtaking game. Number 3, God of War 2018. Do you like Norse gods, hunky boys, disembodied heads that spout random tidbits of wisdom? Well, if you answered yes to any of those questions, then first of all, that last one's a bit weird, and second, you're going to very much enjoy this next entry. 2018's God of War reacquaints players with hunky lad Kratos, the titular God of War they first met in the 2005 title of the same name. He's done with the Greek pantheon for now though, and can be found living in a cabin with his son, Boy, and his wife, Faye. Or at least he could until Faye died. Now he's on a mission to scatter her ashes from the highest peak in the 9 realms. Combo-based combat and puzzles are the order of the day here, as Kratos and Boy, aka Atreus, find their path to fulfilling Faye's last request, blocked at every turn by all manner of creatures and other hindrances. Most would agree that God of War 2018 was just what the series needed. By retaining the fast-paced hack-and-slash nature of the original games, but placing Kratos in a new environment, developer Santa Monica Studios breathed new life into the franchise, and the resulting experience is action-packed, fresh, and just occasionally manages to tug on the old heartstrings. Number 2, Grand Theft Auto 5, 2013. It's been over a decade at this point since Grand Theft Auto 5 was released, and at the time of writing, we're still probably a year away at the very least from playing Grand Theft Auto 6. Thankfully, 5 is such a monumental triumph of a game that we don't mind revisiting it until such a time that a sequel finally shows up. Set once again in San Andreas, Grand Theft Auto 5 tells the interwoven stories of a trio of protagonists: Franklin, a street gangster, retired bank robber Michael, and drug dealer Trevor. Over the course of the game, the three undertake a variety of heists, all whilst trying to deal with pressure put on them from nefarious government agencies and other criminals. When they're not helping our three wrong-uns commit various felonies, players can freely roam the massive open world, taking on side quests or simply exploring to see what shenanigans they can get up to. Violent, action-packed and full to bursting with colourful characters, with glorious visuals and an open world that's just begging to be traversed, Grand Theft Auto 5 is everything we've come to expect from Rockstar's venerated series and so much more. Makes you wonder just how they're going to top it, doesn't it? And number 1, The Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim, 2011. If we had pulled this list together based on the thoughts of critics, patooey, then the 5th entry into the Elder Scrolls franchise would have ranked below several other of the entries on today's list. Come on though, it's Skyrim. Skyrim! How could we put it at any other place on this list than the top spot? The successor to 2006's Oblivion, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim puts players into the shoes of the Dragonborn and sees them journeying across the titular province on a quest to defeat Alduin the World Eater, a big old dragon who is said will one day destroy the world. Being an open-world RPG, however, players can explore Skyrim at their leisure. Those with a laser focus will surely deal with the potential apocalyptic threat post-haste, whilst the rest of us faff about doing odd jobs for the locals and honing our pickpocketing skills. It's a get-rich-quick scheme that actually works after all. Sure, there's the odd bug here and there. It's a Bethesda game, not sure what you expect. But if you look past that, you'll find an engrossing experience absolutely jam-packed with places to explore, people to meet, and things to do. Just be careful not to accidentally off any chickens, lest an entire village of angry farmers descend upon you.